Jai Shri Radhe, Sab Vaishnavan ko Jai Shri Krishna. English reading of the 252 Vaishnav Varta. Today is day 216, the Varta 216, part 1 continued. When you are living there, no one will know about your being Vaishnavas who make Seva or about you worshipping the Lord. Such secret Seva is very meritorious to the devotee. When everyone else knows about your worship, then your righteous path can dissolve into the fame that you will attain exactly in the same way that anything thrown into a river will be carried off by the flowing current. When the Balai couple heard these instructions from Sri Gosaiji, they took them into their hearts as the ultimate scriptural authority, and they asked him to render them worthy of such instruction. Sri Gosaiji said to them, "Both of you now go and bathe in Sri Yamunaji." They did so and then stood on Govind Ghat near Sri Acharyaji's Betak. There Sri Gosaiji gave them the initiation with the Lord's name, Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama. He fixed this mantra in their bodies and minds by giving it into their ears. He then gave them both a Mahaprasadi necklace made from Tulsiji wood and some of the water which had washed the Lord's feet. He gave them his sandals and his upper garment for their seva and then sent them off. Bhav Prakash. This tale reveals the true form of the 8-syllable mantra. With its recitation, the devotee becomes fearless. Vaishnavas must take constant refuge in the 8-syllable mantra. The two of them, part 1 continued, the two of them put their heads onto Sri Gosaiji's lotus feet. He lifted them up with his hands. They joined their hands together and supplicated, "O Maharaj, we have no shelter other than your lotus feet. We know you will protect us always in both good and bad circumstances." Saying this, they took his blessings, prostrated before him and set off. They went to the exact place Sri Gosaiji had told them about and built a little mud temple, covered it with tender banana leaves. They set the sandals on a little throne within. They fetched fragrant flowers from the forest and made garlands out of them, which they offered in the temple. They fetched lovely fruits and offered them to the sandals. Thereafter they survived on the Mahaprasadi fruits. Then they would sit and make divine discourses. Their recitation of the 8-syllable mantra of refuge was constant, and they meditated on it ceaselessly. Whenever they began to miss Sri Gosaiji, they opened the temple and had the holy sight of Sri Gosaiji's sandals. It was as if Sri Gosaiji himself was sitting there looking at the Sri Subodhiniji. The couple would then sit in front of him, and Sri Gosaiji would speak divine discourses, and they sat to listen. He also taught them all the ways of seva in the path of grace. One day the Balai wife said to her husband, "We only ever offer forest fruits to our Sri Thakurji, whether it is daily or on special festivals. We never offer him anything else." This tale points out that Vaishnavas should always try to find some new way to worship the Lord. A Vaishnava should contemplate in their hearts all sorts of new loving sentiments. Why? Because in this path of grace the mood of calm and cool constance is not appropriate. Part 1 continued. She said, "I'm not talking about gold and jewels. The Lord liked cows very much, so I'm telling you what is in my mind, and if you like this idea, please do it. Round my neck is a gold chain which weighs 6 grams. There is a village about 50 miles from here. Please go there and sell it, and with the funds buy a lovely cow of good nature along with a spinning wheel. I shall spend my time spinning cotton while chanting the Lord's name. I can then sell the spun thread in that village. We can collect some supplies and make special preparations on festival days along with offering milk from the cow." The husband also thought this was a great idea. He took the gold chain and sold it. With the money he bought a cow and a spinning wheel and brought them home to the wife. When the wife had finished her seva, she would sit and spin, singing the Lord's name all the while. She would say the 8-syllable mantra into the cow's ears. If ever a lion or tiger came close to her, it would be afraid and run away. The cow could also graze fearlessly and then return home. Sri Thakurji would also feed her grass with his own hands. After that, the Balais would offer the cow's milk to the Lord. They also made yogurt and offered it to him, as well as ghee. After some time, the cow became pregnant, and some time later she gave birth. Then she began to give a lot of milk. The wife collected this cotton thread from 1 whole month of spinning and went to sell it in some large village. With the proceeds, she purchased supplies like sugar, spices, ghee, urad and other dals, wheat, moong, beans, chickpeas and green and root vegetables. She would carry them into bundles and then carry them home. She would then prepare offerings for Sri Gosaiji's sandals with thoughtful new dishes, and also offered some to Sri Thakurji himself, making sure to celebrate festival days with special dishes. Soon the Lord began to grant them his direct experience and asked personally for the things he wished to eat. He would also chat with them. Thus concludes Varta 216, the story of the Balai couple from Gujarat, who were recipients of Sri Gosaji's great grace and accompanied Vaishnavas. There is no end to their tale. Continuing today with Varta 217, the story of one moneylender from Kambhaich who tested whether taking Brahmasambandh is truly equal to a second birth. Bhav Prakash. This is a devotee of Rajasi disposition. In the eternal Leela, his name is Mayurini. She manifests from Chandrabhan and is thus a personification of her divine loving sentiment. He was born to a moneylender in Kambhaich who had a shop from where he conducted his business. He always told the truth and thus was well known and respected by all. His son was 30 when he died, and he then started to run the shop and the business. Part 1. Once Sri Gosaji decided to go to Gujarat. He took his leave from Sri Navneet Priyaji and travelled to Kambhaich. All the Vaishnavas who lived there came to see Sri Gosaji. Sri Gosaji then visited one Vaishnava's house. At that time, this moneylender was sitting in his shop. Sri Gosaji walked past him on his way. The moneylender asked one Vaishnava who he was, and he replied that this was their guru, whose name was Sri Vittalnathji and who lived in Gokul. The moneylender said, "My heart is telling me to also become his disciple." The Vaishnava replied, "Yes, that is a very exalted idea. When you take initiation from him, you will be reborn. From the state of ordinary embodied soul, you have become a Vaishnava devotee." Having heard this, the moneylender got himself initiated by Sri Gosaji with the Lord's name and a Brahmasambandh. He then made a large donation to Sri Gosaji and requested him to grant him one Sri Thakurji to serve. Sri Gosaji did so. He personally bathed the Sri Thakurji in the 5 nectars and dressed and adorned him and brought him to sit on a throne. He called all the Vaishnavas together and let them have his holy sight. He also offered him many preparations, and after accepting back the offerings as Mahaprasad, he partook of the prasad and fed all the Vaishnavas too. Sri Gosaji stayed there for 10 days before leaving for Dwarkaji. The moneylender Vaishnava thought to himself, "Oh brother, on the day when I got initiated, that Vaishnava told me that being initiated with the Lord's name and a Brahmasambandh, how can I realize the truth in this statement? I should test it out." There was a Brahmin who, before the moneylender had become a Vaishnava, had given him 5,000 rupees to keep aside for him, and until he returned from his trip to Varanasi. He said, "Please don't tell anyone about this." He gave the 5,000 rupees to the moneylender without telling one, and asked him to also not tell anyone about this, that he would come to get the money when he returned from the trip. The Brahmin then set off for Varanasi. He came back and after some time asked for the money. In order to take the test of the promise of a new birth, the moneylender said to the Brahmin, "Oh Bhatji, how can you genuinely ask me for money like this? I have never in this lifetime ever touched nor seen your money, and you are insisting?" Hearing these words of the moneylender, the Brahmin went to the king's court and made a complaint. The king's men came to fetch the moneylender to the court. The king asked him, "Oh, Mr. Moneylender, what is this the Brahmin is claiming?" The moneylender replied, "The Brahmin is arguing with me, saying that he left 5,000 rupees with me when he went on his trip to Varanasi. In this lifetime, I have never even touched that Brahmin's money. If he is asking for money that I lent him in a previous lifetime, then fair enough, I shall give it to him. I do not lack the money to give him." The Brahmin spoke up, "What nonsense are you talking to me about taking money from you in your previous birth? It's impossible. It was only 6 months ago that I deposited that money anonymously with you." The king asked the Brahmin, "Do you have any witness or proof?" The Brahmin said that he had neither a witness nor any promissory note. I thought the moneylender was a good and honest man, so I did not ask for a receipt or anything like that. He took the money from me and now he is denying it. I think we should test him properly. We should put this 5 kilo iron weight into fire until it is red hot and make him hold it in his hands for 1 muhurt. If his hands burn, then he must be forced to return my money to me. If his hands do not get burned, then I will admit to being a liar. The king ordered the moneylender Vaishnava either take this test or give the Brahmin his money. The Vaishnava declared, "I will take the test. In this lifetime, I have not taken any money from that Brahmin." So on his say-so, they heated up a 5 kilo iron weight in the iron worker's fire and put it into the moneylender Vaishnava's hands. He pronounced Sri Gosaji's name and began to contemplate his guru's form. He held the red-hot piece of iron in his hands. He said, "I swear that in this lifetime I have never accepted any money from this Brahmin. If I have, then let my hands be burnt and become ashes. If If the Brahmin is talking about money that he gave to me in a previous birth, then this iron will become cold in my hands. The money lender Vaishnava held the iron in his hands for nearly 2 hours. They did not even get slightly burnt. He addressed the Brahmin, if you have been telling the truth, then you should also hold this burning iron in your hands. The Brahmin took the iron weight into his hands and his hands got burnt, so he put it down. The money lender was proving to be telling the truth and the Brahmin's statement was false. We will continue this fascinating story tomorrow. Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Sab Vaishnavan ko humble, respectful, loving. Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Shri Radhe Ji. आज के आनंद की जय।